A massive armada of the Zelenar Dominion hovered just outside Earth's solar system. They had crushed thousands of worlds under their rule, enslaving entire civilizations. Humanity was next. The Dominion had studied Earth for decades, analyzing its weaknesses, and found it primitive compared to the galactic empires. Victory was assured. Grand Warlord Exorvek stood aboard his flagship, staring at the blue-green planet in the distance. He turned to his second-in-command, General Zortal, his mandibles clicking in amusement. The humans are defenseless. Their technology is centuries behind. This invasion will be over in hours. General Zortal nodded, yet a sliver of hesitation crept into his voice. There are rumors, Warlord. Some species say the humans have a secret weapon hidden on their world. No one knows what it is, but every race that has tried to conquer them in the past has mysteriously failed. Exorvek let out a guttural laugh. Superstition. The weak always make excuses for their failure. Ready the troops. The Zelenar fleet activated their planetary assault weapons. Thousands of drop pods filled with heavily armed warriors launched toward Earth. Their target was the human capital cities, intending to eliminate resistance before it even began. On Earth, chaos erupted as people watched the sky fill with fire. Nations scrambled their defenses, fighter jets soaring into battle, but the Zelenar weapons shredded them effortlessly. Governments broadcast surrender messages, knowing they stood no chance. Yet, deep beneath an unassuming facility in Antarctica, a group of scientists and military leaders gathered around a glowing console. The president of the United Terran Council stood with them, his face grim but determined. It's happening, said Dr. Ellison, the lead scientist. They're here. The president exhaled. Then it's time. Activate the protocol. Dr. Ellison hesitated for only a second before pressing a sequence of keys. Deep beneath the ice, ancient mechanisms rumbled to life. A pulse of energy radiated outward, invisible to the naked eye but powerful enough to be felt across the stars. Above Earth, the Zelenar invaders suddenly screamed in agony. Their bodies convulsed, their minds overwhelmed by an unseen force. In their ships, warriors collapsed, clutching their heads. Even Grand Warlord Exorvek staggered, his vision blurring. What is this? What have they done? He roared, gripping the control panel for balance. General Zortal gasped, his voice barely a whisper. The secret weapon, it's real. Across Earth, humans felt nothing, but the invaders were paralyzed. Something ancient, something powerful had awakened. Then, the real nightmare began. A voice echoed inside the minds of the Zelenar, cold and ancient. You should not have come here. The Dominion warriors screamed as their very thoughts were unraveled. They saw visions of countless civilizations, all of them wiped out by a single force. A force that now set its sights on them. Exorvek fought against the overwhelming terror clawing at his mind. He forced himself to the communications console. Pull back. All ships retreat. Now. But it was too late. The Zelenar fleet, once an unstoppable force, was now a collection of lifeless husks drifting in space. Their minds erased, their bodies frozen in place. On Earth, Dr. Ellison watched the monitors as enemy signatures vanished one by one. He turned to the president. It worked. The failsafe activated. The president closed his eyes. Relief mixed with fear. We've won. But at what cost? Beneath the Antarctic facility, the massive underground structure continued to hum, its true nature still unknown. And somewhere in the depths of space, something stirred, having tasted the minds of the Zelenar. It was awake now. And it was hungry. Grand Warlord Exorvek floated in the void of space. His body was paralyzed, his mind trapped in a swirling storm of horror. He saw his fleet, once the pride of the Zelenar Dominion, now a graveyard of lifeless ships. The warriors aboard them stood frozen, their consciousness stripped away by the unseen force. He tried to move, to think, but the presence inside his mind refused to let go. the voice returned, a whisper echoing through his skull. You are not the first to come here. You will not be the last. Something pulled at his thoughts, dragging him into memories he had never lived. He saw civilizations rise and fall, empires reduced to dust. The same pattern repeated again and again. Each race that discovered Earth met the same fate. It was not humanity that defended this world. It was something older, something that did not belong in this universe. Exorvek's vision blurred. He caught glimpses of massive structures buried deep beneath Earth's surface, machines built eons ago by an unknown force. He saw alien symbols glowing in the dark, pulsating with power. And then he saw the thing that had claimed his mind. It was not a machine. It was not alive. It was something beyond both. A presence that fed on thought itself. Exorvek tried to scream, but his voice was gone. On Earth, inside the Antarctic facility, Dr. Ellison and the President stood in silence. The monitors displayed an eerie calm. The Zelenar forces had been completely neutralized. Not a single shot had been fired from Earth's side. One of the scientists broke the silence. Sir, we need to shut it down. If we don't, we risk exposure. Dr. Ellison's hands were shaking. I don't think we can. It's awake now. The President clenched his fists. We never had control, did we? Dr. Ellison shook his head. No. We only had a key to wake it up. Outside the facility, a blizzard howled across the frozen wasteland. But beneath the ice, the ancient machinery continued to pulse with life. And deep in space, something vast and unseen turned its attention toward Earth. Something that had been searching for a very long time. Grand Warlord Exorvek's mind was unraveling. He was no longer in space, no longer aboard his ship. He existed in a realm of shifting shadows and flickering lights, a place where thoughts twisted into nightmares. The presence that had consumed his fleet spoke again, but this time, it was no longer just a voice. It was inside him, sifting through his memories, breaking them apart piece by piece. You came here seeking conquest. You found something older than your kind. Exorvek struggled to resist, but his willpower crumbled. He was nothing before this entity, a mere flicker of consciousness drowning in an ocean of something vast and unknowable. His memories of the Zelenar Dominion, of his victories, of his purpose, all of it was being devoured. On Earth, inside the Antarctic facility, alarms blared. The readings were impossible. The energy signature beneath the ice was growing, expanding beyond the facility's sensors. Dr. Ellison frantically typed on his console, trying to contain it. The President turned to him, his voice sharp. What's happening? Dr. Ellison's face was pale. It's reaching out. One of the scientists backed away from the monitors. Reaching out to what? No one had an answer. In deep space, beyond the dead husks of the Zelenar fleet, something stirred. A presence older than the Dominion, older than the empires that had risen and fallen before them. It had been searching for eons, drifting between dimensions, following the echoes of civilizations. And now, at last, it had found a door. And Earth had just opened it. Exorvek's last moments of awareness were filled with a singular revelation. The humans had never been the secret weapon. They had only been bait. Inside the Antarctic facility, the tension was suffocating. Every monitor flashed red, displaying incomprehensible data streams. Dr. Ellison's fingers flew across the keyboard, trying to shut down the ancient mechanism buried beneath the ice. But no matter what he did, the energy output only increased. The President's voice cut through the chaos. Tell me we can stop this. Dr. Ellison barely shook his head. It's beyond us now. A scientist gasped as new readings came in. Sir, something is approaching Earth. The President turned sharply. Another fleet. Dr. Ellison stared at the screen, his face stricken with horror. No. Something bigger. Beyond the shattered remains of the Zelenar fleet, space itself distorted. A presence too vast to be defined by shape or form began to manifest. The few functioning satellites that still transmitted data back to Earth captured only glimpses, a shadow that stretched across the void, warping reality itself. Xorvek was gone. His fleet was gone. And yet, something had taken notice. Dr. Ellison's voice trembled. We thought the failsafe was a weapon. We thought it was protecting us. The president's face was grim. Then what is it? Dr. Ellison turned away from the screen. A beacon. For millennia, Earth had been a silent anomaly in the vastness of the galaxy. Civilizations had come and gone, and those who tried to claim it had vanished without a trace. The secret hidden beneath the ice was not a guardian. It was a signal, waiting to be answered. And now, something had heard it. The Antarctic facility shuddered as unseen forces pulsed through the underground chambers. Lights flickered, and for a moment, the scientists swore they heard whispers, words spoken in a language that did not belong to humanity. Then, the transmission began. Not from Earth, but from deep within the approaching void. It was not a message of war. It was a reply. The transmission surged through every frequency, hijacking satellites, radio waves, and even neural implants of those sensitive enough to perceive it. Across Earth, people clutched their heads as a deep, resonant hum vibrated through their bones. It was not speech. It was not sound. It was something older, something primal. Inside the Antarctic facility, the monitors flickered as streams of alien symbols scrolled across the screens faster than any human could process. Dr. Ellison barely managed to keep his hands steady as he initiated a full lockdown, but the system was no longer responding to human input. The president gritted his teeth. What are we looking at? Dr. Ellison forced himself to speak. It's not just a signal. It's something trying to synchronize. The scientist monitoring deep space scans turned pale. Sir, that thing in space, it's getting closer. The void beyond Earth's orbit pulsed as the entity stretched itself into physical space. It was not a ship. It was not an armada. It was something else entirely, a presence that defied dimensions, folding and unfolding itself into existence. The Zelenar had thought they were the predators. They had been wrong. Humanity had assumed it was being protected. It had been wrong. The failsafe beneath Antarctica had never been a weapon. It had been a tether, a link to something vast and unknowable, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And now, it was no longer waiting. The hum intensified. Across the planet, power grids flickered, electronic systems glitched, and for a brief moment, Earth itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, the sky split open. A rift, blacker than space itself, tore through reality above the planet. It was not an attack. It was an arrival. Dr. Ellison's voice was barely a whisper. It's here. The president swallowed hard, his mind racing. Can we close it? Dr. Ellison didn't look away from the screen. I don't think we were ever meant to. Beyond the rift, something vast and ancient loomed, watching, waiting. Earth had sent out a signal. And now, it was time to face what had answered. The world watched in horror as the sky above Earth twisted into something unnatural. The rift stretched across the atmosphere, a wound in reality itself. Scientists, military leaders, and civilians alike stood frozen as the impossible unfolded before them. From the rift, shapes began to emerge, impossible geometries shifting in and out of perception, their forms flickering between existence and nothingness. They were not ships. They were not creatures. They were something in between, something the human mind could barely comprehend. Inside the Antarctic facility, Dr. Ellison gripped the console, sweat beading on his forehead. They're not invading. They're observing. The president turned to him, barely able to keep his voice steady. Observing what? Dr. Ellison hesitated. Us. Across the planet, time itself seemed to slow. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen force. People fell to their knees, some whispering prayers, others simply unable to process what was happening. Then, the presence spoke. Not in words. Not in sound. But in thought. You have called. We have come. The message reverberated through the minds of every living thing on Earth. It was neither threatening nor kind. It was simply a statement. Dr. Ellison's breath caught in his throat. They were never coming to conquer us. They were coming because we asked them to. The president's face hardened. Then we made a mistake. For the first time in history, humanity had reached beyond its world and been heard. But it had no idea what it had been heard by. The entities moved closer, their shifting forms descending toward Earth. The rift above them pulsed, expanding, as if something even greater lurked just beyond the veil. And deep beneath Antarctica, the ancient machines continued to hum. They were not shutting down. They were still transmitting. The invitation had not been rescinded. And whatever was still waiting beyond the rift was now preparing to step through. The rift above Earth pulsed, widening as the entities descended. Their forms bent reality itself, their presence warping space and time. Humanity had called, and something had answered, but it was not yet finished. Inside the Antarctic facility, Dr. Ellison's hands trembled over the console. We have to shut it down now. The president's voice was calm but firm. Can we? Dr. Ellison looked at the screens, the alien symbols flashing faster than any human could comprehend. The machines beneath the ice were not just transmitting anymore. They were syncing. I don't think we were ever in control of it to begin with. The scientist monitoring deep space scans turned pale. Sir, the rift isn't just expanding. It's stabilizing. Outside, the sky itself seemed to ripple as the entities moved lower, their presence pressing against the atmosphere like an incoming storm. Then, they stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, the voice returned, not spoken, not heard, but understood. You have called. You have been heard. A pause. You are not yet ready. Dr. Ellison felt the pressure in his skull lessen, the hum in the air beginning to fade. The symbols on the monitors slowed, then stopped. The entities did not step further. They did not attack. They only watched. And then, one by one, they withdrew. The sky rippled again as the impossible shapes returned to the rift, dissolving into the void beyond. The great wound in reality shuddered, and then, without sound, it closed. The air grew still. The power returned. The world, somehow, was unchanged. Inside the facility, no one moved, no one spoke. The machines beneath the ice powered down on their own, their purpose fulfilled, for now. Dr. Ellison exhaled shakily. We survived. The president stared at the now empty sky. No. We were given a warning. For now, the secret weapon hidden on Earth had been silenced. But one day, the signal would call out again. And next time, there would be no warning. Only judgment.